Hi friends, in this session we study about the ratio in proportion. It is very important chapter which is used everywhere from standard 6th or 7th and onwards we use this chapter, and it is also very important chapter for many sort of entrance examination like GATE, CPT and other entrance examination. It is very important, like some recruitment exams it is also being asked, like banking, PO, railway, LIC and so on. So first I would like to explain what is ratio. Ratio is a comparison of two quantities by division. It is a relation that one quantity bears to another with respect to magnitude. In other words, ratio means what part one quantity is of another. Normally we consider the ratio between quantities of the same kind. So here I explain how we determine the quantities whether of same kind or not. So I explain here, we are taking one example, wheat and rice. You have seen here in bowl there is a wheat and rice here in picture. So look at here, we find out the ratio of the wheat and rice consumed in Indian family in a month. So you see both the quantities are measured by the same physical quantities, which is mass. So generally we used to count the wheat and the count, or I would like to say the measure the wheat and rice in kg. So the unit should be same. If we measure the wheat in kg, the rice must be in also kg. Rice should not be in the gram or in the pound, it should be in kg. The units must be same. If we are making the ratio of two quantities, the units must be same. The basic thing, the ratio doesn't have any sort of unit. The ratio is unitless basically. So if the units are same, so the units would eliminate each other and we get the unitless quantity, which is a ratio. So here I explain. We assume that the 40 kg of wheat is being consumed in an Indian family in a month, 40 kg, and 12 kg of rice being consumed there in a month. So look at here, both the units will eliminate to each other, and now for 3 times and for 10 times. So we get here the ratio 10/3, or we could write in this way, 10:3 is the ratio of wheat and rice consumed in an Indian family in a month. So in this way we could find out the ratio. If we have another example, we see the consumption of oil and sugar in an Indian family or in an family. So look at here, oil which is measured by volume, or it is generally measured in the unit of liter, and the sugar which is measured by mass, or it is being measured by the unit of kg generally. So their units are different, so we cannot find out the ratio of the consumption of oil and sugar in a family. We could find out the percentage, but we cannot find out the ratio because the physical quantities are differ. They are not of same kind of quantity. One is liquid and other one is solid. So the measurement of both the quantities are differ. So I would like to say more things about the ratio. If A and B are two numbers, the ratio of A to B can be denoted by A/B or A divided by B, and is denoted by A/B. This is the main form of ratio, A/B. The quantities that are being compared are called terms. So A and B are the terms. A is the first term and B is the second term. We also say the first term is called the antecedent. A is antecedent and B is consequent. The second term is called the consequent. So this is the all basic about the ratio. Now we see the types of ratio. Now look at here in this table, the types of ratio I have written here: the duplicate ratio, triplicate ratio, subduplicate ratio, subtriplicate ratio, inverse or reciprocal ratio, compound ratio and continuous ratio. So I explain you each and every sort of ratio, how we get this through a ratio. Look at here, if we have a ratio A/B, so we have to find the duplicate ratio. First I explain or define the duplicate ratio. It is the square of the given ratio. The given ratio is A/B. So the duplicate ratio would be A square over B square. This would be, if we have a ratio like 2 over 3, or we have to find out the duplicate ratio. So the duplicate ratio would be 4 over 9. The square of 2 is 4 and the square of 3 is 9. So it implies that it would be the duplicate ratio. Now I explain you about the duplicate ratio. It is the cube of the given ratio. The given ratio is A over B. So the duplicate ratio would be A cube over B cube. If we have a ratio 2 over 3, we have to find out the duplicate ratio. So it would be 2 cube over 3 cube. So the cube of 2 is 8 and the cube of 3 is 27. So it is 8 over 27. This would be the duplicate ratio. Now I explain you the subduplicate ratio. It is the square root of the given ratio. If you have a ratio A over B, or we have to find out the subduplicate ratio, it would be square root of A over square root of B. So if we have to find out the duplicate ratio of 2 over 3, so it would be root 2 over root 3. So in this way we could find it out. Now we see the subduplicate ratio. Subduplicate ratio, it is the cube roots of a given ratio. The cube root, if we see, we have a ratio A over B, so cube root of A over cube root of B. So we could write in this way. If we have ratio 2 over 3, so we could write cube root of 2 over cube root of 3. So in this way we could find out the subduplicate ratio and the inverse or reciprocal ratio. So it is very simple. It is reciprocal of the given ratio. The ratio is given to us A is to B. The reciprocal or the inverse ratio would be B over A, just a reciprocal of the given ratio. Or we could write 3 over 2, as we have taken here 2 over 3 as a given ratio in the number form. So now the compound ratio, if it is the multiplication of 2 or more given ratio, we multiply the antecedent with the antecedents and the consequent with the consequent. If we have the ratio of the, we have example, we take one example of the ratios. We have a ratio A over B and another ratio C over D. So the compound ratio would be like this: AC over BD. So this is the compound ratio. We are getting the multiplication of the numerator or the antecedent and the multiplication of the consequent or the denominator. We could do in this way. So this is the compound ratio. We can take the example also the height and weight of the students in a classroom. We take the measurement of weight or the mass of the students and the height of the students, and we multiply these. So these are called the compound ratio. So now we see the continuous ratio. The ratio of the more than 2 terms is called the continuous ratio. Like we have a term like A, B, C, like this way we could write A is to B is to C. So this is a continuous ratio. This sort of ratio are called the continuous ratio. If we have the consumption of wheat, rice, sugar, 3 quantities of the same kind, we find out their consumption in a month. So we could write in this way. We know that the wheat, if we assume that the wheat is being consumed 40 kg per month, okay, and rice is 12 kg and sugar is 4 kg. So ratio would be, finally we get the ratio here like 40. If we divide the highest common factor of 40, 12 and 4 is 4. So we get here 10 is to 3 is to 1. So this is the consumption of wheat, rice and sugar in a family. So in this way we could find out the continuous ratio also. There are the more than 2 terms are being used of the same kind of physical quantity, then we use the continuous ratio. So in this session we have studied about the ratios of different types of ratios. We have studied about the what is ratio, how we could express the ratio,